Donald transitioned from a highly successful tech career to exploring his dreams of being a writer in Nigeria. And in less than 2, 3 years of venturing into that dream, he starts to win awards and became highly recognized in the film industry. He's a co-creator and head writer for shows like The Slum King, Strain, Shantytown, Ajoche, I Will Have an Affair, Enake, Covenant, Dust, Masquerades of Iniedo. Introducing the Kujus, I really like that. Tinsel, I was stuck on Tinsel for years. And the list goes on and on and on. He has been named one of the top 10 powerhouse writers and one of the 100 most influential people in Nollywood. He's also a Brain Trust member and Director of Business Innovation and Technology at Africa's foremost life transformation coaching company, the Discovery Center, supporting the lead coach in helping thousands and thousands of individuals excavate the core of their being and birth who they truly are to live their most authentic life to the fullest. Donald is a very beautiful human with a very beautiful soul, filled with exploring the depths of who he is and what life constantly has for him. On this episode, he shares his mistakes, he shares his failures, he shared the fear of having to leave a very successful career to go into something he's dreamt about for all his life. Being a father of 3 children, where does he begin? He shares his successes also in this episode, how he had to switch up parts of himself to serve the church, how he was dying on the inside, not being able to express the fullness of himself. He has the wildest smile and the biggest laughter. It's like he finds every little opportunity to make sure he's smiling and he's laughing. And it was such a pleasure having him on this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, I deeply enjoyed this one, and I think you will enjoy it as well. Donald Tombia, ladies and gentlemen. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is something I read about you.
Okay.
That says that you kept your attitude of skipping classes when you were younger and this is like maybe from your primary school. And then even when you got into university, you would skip your classes and attend other courses. That's like the dumbest thing, but okay. To the extent that a lot of medical students at the time thought you were their classmates, whereas you were studying computer engineering or forensics.
Electrical electronics.
Electronics. You might need to expand that.
So, the origin of that was primary school, right? At the time, I was in boarding house in primary school, if you believe that. So I was in Mayflower Junior School, Ikena in Ogun State. Now, when I got into the school, I couldn't speak Yoruba, any type of Yoruba. And primary school pupils can be mean. So, I entered the school, my shorts had my initials. My name is Donald Tombia. My mom, she made it bold, Don Tom. Really, really bold. Now it sounds fancy, but back then it wasn't. They didn't make it fancy. They always people were insulting me. So I hated being in class.
Right.
I hated being in class because one, I don't have friends. Everyone is just looking for the next opportunity to just find a jab to throw at me. It became worse when I started understanding what they were saying.
So ignorance was bliss at the beginning.
And I did not know that. I did not know that. Like, I was ignorant. It was just like body language, laugh. That's the pointing. They just let me know that, okay, people were just talking stuff that were derogatory about me. And it was sad. And just put me like under. But then when I started learning the things that they were saying, they would say stuff and I would hear, and they did not know that I was understanding. Then it became more painful. So I was just like, avoidance. Let's avoid class. And because it did not impact my academic success in any way, form, or manner, I just kept at it. It didn't impact at all. So I still was brainy. I think at the time, I didn't do primary six, but this was because the school did not even have my name in primary six. They put me just on, just straight up. I carried the same thing enter secondary school. And that's when I realized you kind of have to study.
At some point. I was going to ask that question.
No, it negatively impacted on my academics in secondary school. Right. So Mayflower has at the time, they had a very nice way of trying to get everyone into the whole study thing. So we had something we used to call silent R. Now I crave silent R.
Tell me.
But back then, what you just enter, wherever just goes on one field like that and just chills. Silent R means silent R. No talking.
With a bunch of juveniles. How could that even
so
happen?
you have bigger juveniles on the lower juveniles. And if they flog you when you are in between GS1 and SS2, by the time you get to SS3,
you have to make
you're waiting for who will mess up
so that you can pass the exam.
So like students, that's why students is in boarding houses. Students are the student prefects are one of the best ways of ensuring order in the school. So that's how you have silent R. You have the students watching over other students. So people will read their books. At that silent R, we also have we had something I can't remember the name now, but you go to the assembly hall, you have chairs. This one was just grass field. You have chairs, you go sit down, you're still reading, right? But silent, that one you can talk. But this one is just quiet in nature. And everyone is just reading. Everybody is being intentional with their lives.
In secondary school, that sounds opposite to what
I don't know. That's my view. My view was everybody's doing something. But Donald Tombia has made sure that he has come there with transparent white nylon. Then he has spent the next 20 minutes looking for crickets and grasshoppers. Then he puts all of them inside nylon, punches holes for air. And for the remaining time, just watching them fight. That's all I was doing myself.
When everyone was being intentional.
I was creating a gladiator colosseum for just crickets and grasshoppers. So I never really cracked any book open. In just my early secondary school days. And I was second to last type position. And my parents, who obviously knew I'm smart, I'm blah, blah, this was not good. I started rolling with people who were like me, truants. So you're not going to class, I'm your guy. Next thing was throwing, you know the fruit called fruit, right? Or we'll just be stoning. That's what we'll be doing. While other people are studying on how to be great in life, I'll be throwing stones and sticks. So yeah, that's where I learned that behavior, and then it carried to university. Right, for university, I didn't like my course, so rather than sit down and hear anything else being said, I just
go to medical classes.
So it was not only medical; it was mostly medical, but it was literally class that we just okay to.
Right.
And in hindsight, kind of helped, or it has helped me have a broad knowledge of many things. And it's not just the knowledge that is interesting; it's how it has just formed the building blocks of my mind and the way my mind works. I can delve into any field, and I can have understanding. I can create analogies. It helps in my creativity. It helps me in problem solving. But I'm going to tackle a problem with the particular indices or the registers of that particular field. It could be a medical problem. I don't need to attack it or come at it from a medical standpoint, right? I could come at it from an architectural standpoint or a mathematical, statistical standpoint. And that's because all those periods, right? When I go and sit down in a class and I just want to actually listen to a teacher, I'm struggling to learn. Hear what the teacher is saying and understand what the teacher is saying. And it was truancy at the time. almost had an extra year because of that. So it had its consequences. But the benefits I now realize at this stage of my life is that my mind has just been exposed.
Yeah.
And that's great.
That is great.
But now I'm smart. I have classes to avoid anymore. It's great.
So you went to University of Bradford?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
In the United Kingdom. Yeah. And you studied forensics computing.
Yeah.
Did you avoid classes then too? Because, yes. And I asked this because the structure of education here is different from the structure of education in Western world. So what was that like for you, having this habit of skipping classes like all your education in Nigeria, and you get to a place that is almost impossible, for lack of better words? How did you manage the self-awareness of skipping classes, and how did you then stay? How did you manage? How did you find balance? What happened?
I mean, morphed. So I'll be late to class. All right.
It showed.
Yeah, so it showed. It just morphed. So it wasn't that I just got one abrupt awakening. Like, oh my God, I have to be in class. No. So one of the things I did, again, a lot of the steps I took a long time ago were not conscious as to whatever it is I was building in my life, or just steps I didn't know I needed to take. I never liked school. I'm disciplined. I'm obsessive with things, but I'm not structured in a this day must all look alike.
Right.
I can only be that when I have a goal.
Makes sense.
So I structure my life like the athlete. You have off season, you have on season. You know that you are going to this particular point. You want to hit this target. You go hard at it. Now, that target is what creates a structure for me. I'm not just structured just because we want to be structured.
Okay.
So now that's maybe why classes tell me 8 o'clock. I'm like, but why must it be 8?
Yeah, it wasn't a seasonal thing.
Do you understand? Yeah. I'm just so after my university, I just told my parents, I want to stay home. I do nothing for 1 year. And thank God they listened to me. I don't know how I convinced them. I have no idea how, but they said yes.
Oh, that's amazing.
And that was 2009. And that year was possibly my most defining year. Right? Because I just stayed home. I was just reading. So before I went for my master's, I'd read almost everything I could read about the course, such that I was teaching my classmates. I had a particular lecturer whose accent, so where he was from, was very thick. Yeah. And his English words were not coming out as clearly as they could have been, or they should have been for a teacher. And I used to teach on his behalf. So I knew what to teach. I knew the subject because I'd read. Right? So missing 1 or 2 classes did not disturb me.
But you still missed it.
I still missed. I remember clearly it was on photography, digital photography. I don't think the name of the course was digital photography. It was 2 classes that I really hated. The one that had to do with forensics, not forensic computing, but forensics, criminal forensics, where we have to go, check out dead bodies, blood spatters, and like okay. And then the other one was on digital photography. I hated those 2 courses. Why? Because I'd not studied them before, and I had an opinion of what they should be like. When I'm going to digital photography, give me camera now.
Right.
Let me point and shoot. Now you're telling me about light and darkness, angles, and aperture. Dude, no. No.
But that's actually interesting because digital photography and forensics crime and stuff is literally what the theme of your movies is actually centered in, from my opinion.
I sure did not enjoy the critiques.
Dude. How did you go from not enjoying it to then having like a whole different world of creating movies like that?
It's akin to having a child not like medicine, but the medicine is good for the child.
Interesting.
Right. So that I did not like it, I can't stop my brain for assimilating some things. As long as I'm there. If I don't like it, I can be rebellious. I was just sitting there, I'm just like, what are you saying? But I mean, things are being said. I'm looking at the screen. I hate what I'm looking at. I'm doing forensics, and then they're showing me blood splatters and all that. I hate it. I'm just like, oh, many, this is tiring. You'll be making us walk all this. I'm tired, man. They're saying, who killed this person? I've deduced who killed the person, but then you want me to deduce it based on this evidence. But I'm like, but I've gotten the goal. Is the goal, or do we have to work 3,000 miles? So all the while my disposition towards causes of those sorts were not hatred, just a dislike, a distaste for them. Because they were not using what I would consider my strength. Right. It did not stop the fact that they've been very beneficial to me. It didn't stop all that. I remember there was a particular, and this is what I mean, right? So that we had a class, security something, where we're meant to create groups and create an attack to hack someone or an organization. And it was under social engineering. So social engineering is when I call you and tell you, oh, your card has been blocked. What's your PIN? What's your this? What's your that? Now, there are dumb ones, but then you now have these very, very sophisticated ones. And me and my team created an extremely sophisticated one. And it was second nature. Not because it was criminal, but because it was building a story. It was creating characters for people. So I was this person. It was very easy. At that point, I wasn't thinking storytelling as a pathway for myself. Right. But it was very easy, so effective that the attack was on a church. Because in the UK, you can pay with your card, you put your CVV numbers, all those kinds of things. So we infiltrated the church. It was a 6-month operation. We had a new, what do you call it, a newcomer, the first timer. We had someone who was an accountant. We had people who infiltrate the church. We never did it. It was just theoretical. But your job, you never did it because I know this will come out now. And then the FBI goes, But it was so I had courses of that sort which I gravitated towards because that's what I mean by using my strengths so easy, right? That's why the other courses just pissed me off because I'm just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? But it's very funny is that now I see an application of all of these things in my life and in what I do, right? And it did not matter whether I liked it. Just matter that I went through it. Got it. Yeah, that's it. That's really good. I liked the way we segued into like 5 different things. So to touch on that a bit, alongside every other thing, I know you to be a very multifaceted person. I know you to be a brain trust member of and the director of business, innovation and technology at Africa's foremost coaching company, the Discovery Center. I know you to be a badass filmmaker. What is it like for you being a multifaceted person, and not just like being a multifaceted person doing like mere things, but taking heavy roles in separate industries and doing it extremely well, so much that you have awards for it. Yeah, it's draining. You make it seem effortless. Yeah, that's the trick. I remember a quote that I kept in my head a long time ago. I saw a picture of a duck just being still on the water, very calm. Just gliding, no ripple. But then the camera goes under, and the lens so it's like calm on the surface, paddling furiously beneath, and so it is draining, and it's draining not necessarily just in the execution. It's draining in the acceptance and the knowledge of how to use it. So by acceptance, it is this. Society, at the time I was growing up, not necessarily just now, society did not particularly have a place for people who were able to do multiple things. Agreed. Right? It was, you're an accountant, you're a doctor, you're this, you're that. Not, oh, you can do all this. What are you doing? Right? And so the first is the acceptance that you actually are able to. Then we are taught maxims like jack of all trades,
Master of
master of
none.
none. And then you grow up liking and being inspired by masters. And you think the fact that I am able to do multiple trades just puts me at loggerhead with the ability to become a master. Yeah, because that now forms a belief in you. Yeah. And so there has to be an acceptance that I can be a master, right? And actually be in multiple trades. So there's the acceptance, but acceptance is just what it is. Acceptance creates, there's the awareness of it. Oh, okay, when I do this, I'm good at this. When I do this, I'm good at this. When I do this, okay, that's the awareness. Yeah. But then the acceptance, because at that point you need to unearth whatever it is that gets to stop you, hold you. Yes. Yeah. Then there is now that fine. How do you then execute these things? I remember one time I was working in Tiger Logic Solutions. Tiger is currently the foremost cybersecurity company in Middle East and Africa. I was working and I was myself and my boss that time were 12 persons that built the cybersecurity arm of the business.
This was before cybersecurity became the buzzword now these days.
In fact, it was because it was just coming in that we were able to be successful in the early days. Yeah, and so that's like why yes, we had first mover advantage. The way we explained that time was a lot of people in the industry at the time, they would go after infrastructure. That means the build. So for instance, your part, a lot of people will try and deal in just this. Yeah. We are saying everything is on cloud. Let's secure it. Got it. So it's a little piece of the pie, but then it has grown so much that everybody's like, oh, now we want to get into that. We're like, yeah, come after us. Come after us. That's so cool. And it's a tough thing. I remember when I left, 3 people, they had to get 3 people to share my work. Your role. Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily my role in terms of what I was doing day to day, but just like the knowledge base that I had. They needed to split, because security is fragmented. You have security that deals with, we just mentioned cloud, virtual, does end users, just like, when you have your antivirus on your system, that's like end user type of data, that like data security, cyber security, all these disparate but connected aspects, but that formed the entire like body of knowledge that I had. Got it. And have. And I needed 3 people to actually come carry everything that I was doing at the time. But then I remember one day I walked up to my boss and I was like, so there's security that I'm handling. I'm the manager. I'm doing this. But see, there's also that place that we don't have anybody that manages. Can I also manage that? Because I was bored. Yeah. And that's ridiculous. If you are doing something that requires 3 people to come take over when you step away, how can you be bored? Right? It doesn't make sense. And it wasn't making sense to whoever it is that I would tell at the time, because I was also struggling to articulate it properly. But what it was there are so many aspects to my person that because I wasn't expressing, it was causing death. Within. Got it. And I was also part of the acceptance, because there are many people I realize who die within in one thing, and the only reason is because they can do multiple things. Right? They can do multiple things, but a lot of stuff, maybe it's the responsibilities on your desk, maybe it's the fear of trying something else, maybe it's the shame of going to start out from scratch, maybe it's one of all these many stuff they just never do. And you just find people who just don't fully enjoy life. So there is now the point where you get to be able to now make it work. Right? And I was doing that for a while, where I was doing 3 things at the same time. Managing, I was in Tiger Logic, I was working with Discovery Center at the time, I was running a blog and also writing. And so just to be clear, you were in tech,
in the foremost successful tech company.
Yeah.
You were also in the foremost coaching company, and then you were also writing your storytelling. You were really paddling furiously beneath. Okay, please go on.
And it was draining because I was operating at levels where I couldn't afford to drop any ball.
Right.
But that's impossible because of broken focus.
Yeah.
I remember dropping a ball in my company at the time, and it cost my company about $300,000. That was huge back then. I'm like, oh my God.
$300,000 is huge even now.
Even now.
Imagine that.
Even now, yeah. and so I now needed to make some tough calls. So I had to step away from tech, and I had to cut ties with tech. So it's not permanent in terms of doesn't mean I'm not going back to bring tech into my life, but because I need to build this, right? And it is almost like now that Trevor Noah left the Daily Show, doesn't mean Trevor Noah is not going to host something tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's that after he has what's now podcast, but it's that sometimes you do the next thing, you just have to forget what was. And doing that is tough. So that's what I mean by it's draining, because now I'm into film and filmmaking. Now I am racing to the top of it, right? And I am very interested in I'm interested in the point of convergence between the three industries I've worked in: tech, entertainment, and education. Got it. I'm very interested I think I am privileged to have worked in these three. Yeah. By the time I do that, that's when I'll be able to answer this question in a different way.
I like when you say I'll be able to answer in a different way, because you're given a good answer, but like at every different level, you have like a more advanced answer.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Just quickly, that this is drawing back to you leaving tech for film.
Yeah.
What would be an advice to someone who is lost in the desire to leave who they truly are? So 2 questions.
Okay.
What's the advice for someone who is lost in the desire to leave who they truly are? And secondly is, what would be your life advice for anyone out there who is stuck at a successful but unfulfilling career?
Got it. The first question, you were like, to leave who they truly are, like LIV.
LIV, yeah.
LIVE, rather. I think first has to come with the truth that if you have options, you will most likely pick the option that offers the least resistance and the least change. So you're already living life. You now want to go and live your best life. What this supposes is that you recognized some elements about yourself that you know that if you explore these elements, the exploration will lead you to the type of life you want. That takes courage. Now, if you give yourself the option of that life or this life that I'm currently living, you will most often than not pick the option that offers the least amount of change. But change is tough. Change is tough. And there is almost nothing more defeating than asking yourself at a point, did I make the right choice? Did I make the right choice? So if I choose now that I want to change the entirety of my life, it's not just me that is being affected. My friends are being affected. My network is being affected. My family is being affected. All right. Depending on the degree of this particular change, if it is like some 360 turnaround type thing, an upheaval of my entire life, depending on that, the amount of courage will be commensurate to that. Now, when I wait, I'm like, more. Giddy gone. As long as I have the option of remaining as I am, as long as that is an option I've allowed myself out, and And I can say this thing with so much confidence because I've been faced with different life choices where I had the option of picking a path that would have required me to go through tremendous change. And if I had five of such decisions to make, I've succeeded maybe just twice. Because it's tough.
It is tough.
It's tough and it is very defeating. Because what then happens is that you continue living this life and you lie to yourself that you're okay. You lie to yourself that you're fine. You lie to yourself that you made the right choice.
You find coping mechanism.
Yeah, you find coping mechanisms and you begin to chip at yourself to make it work because this is the choice you've made. So the advice I will have for anybody is suck up and get courage. I can give examples, but I don't think this is the type of stuff where examples work.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's such a personal thing per person.
Yeah.
The need for courage in everybody's life is so personal to them, to the struggles, to the grabbing hold of this new way versus the way you have always been. It's so personal that even if I give you an example of my life or my success and my failings, if we don't have a personal relationship, it might not have the kind of impact on you. So that's why I won't give any example, but I would say to anybody who wants to live a different type of life, which they do believe they're called to, there are many resources you can find on 5 steps before you
until you enter it. You're not looking for which is step 1, which is step 2. You won't even see anything.
What I do think is this. I do think stories matter. It's important to find stories of people who are taking this step or similar step and use those stories to fuel yourself. Hearing one example might not be it. Especially if you don't have a personal relationship with such a person. Hearing multiple examples might help. Right? Because what happens is that you're surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. You now have people who have gone through the same thing. And let me use this to segue to the next question. The idea of you are in a successful career by many metrics, but you're dying inside and you now want to choose to leave. It's daunting and it is near impossible if you're surrounded by only people who have careers. If you're surrounded by people ahead of you who have built their entire lives, have sent their children to the best schools, are respected members of their communities based on their careers.
Yeah.
And you want to go and tell them that, hello. And so what you surrounded yourself by will not support the transition. So it's very important to curate stories of people who have taken this step or similar. And they are, it's not just to take the step or not going follow the road. I don't know. It's not just because you left your job that job and leaving your job because you left your mind and not job. It's a lie. People are miserable in this life. That's not what I'm saying. Go look for the stories of people who have taken these steps and attained the type of success that fits into the image of what you want.
Right.
So you want to leave your job because you want to go this entrepreneurial path, and you genuinely believe that it's going to be rewarding. Like, it's not just to go and be looking for entrepreneurs. Don't go and be listening to a Steve Jobs or a Bill Gates and all this person. That's not what you're looking for. That's not what you need at the time because you don't have the kind of resources that they have. Go look for stories of the people who had everything going for them. And they still chose to go on this path. You want to know how they did it.
Yeah.
Right? You want to know the dark periods in their lives. You want to know how it feels now. If that feeling justifies the years of pain. If that feeling, if that position, if the wealth justifies the decision that was made.
Got it.
You want to surround yourself and fuel yourself with all of these things. Else, by yourself, without the support of winning stories, you will almost always gravitate towards the life that you are used to,
Yeah.
the life that assures ease, the life that
Comfort.
comfort. And as it was said, it's not mediocrity or whatever that is like the enemy of greatness. It's comfort,
Yeah.
and that's what it is.
Yes.
And you have some truth that you might need to fight. The grass is greener. The grass is not greener on the other. No, there's something. Oh, how is this said that you see? I fought it so much that I can't even remember the statement. What they say?
The grass is not always greener on the other side.
I can't think that kind of bullshit.
Me neither.
Cause what did he say? As a writer in this country, oh God, that the grass is not greener over there. Anywhere that is there. but in reality,
Yeah.
That's not an almighty statement.
Okay.
There are some places where the people that water the grass so much, that grass is beautiful.
Yeah.
Right? Your people have not watered this grass. You have to point water, but your grass is still brown.
Yeah.
It's still brown. Your children's children that will see a patch of green.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to identify where the part is. There is a footballer, Osimhen, who was in a club Napoli, and then he started having issues in Napoli. Now he was celebrated while he was in Napoli, no doubt. It wasn't like all his stay in Napoli was turbulent, but towards the end it became turbulent. And once in a while you have sports and things of like racism and the likes, but towards the end there was a bit of turbulence and it wasn't treated as in the light of the caliber of player that he is. So he went to a club that many would consider to be smaller, Galatasaray in Turkey. And I saw a clip where Osimhen scored a goal and the entire stadium started a chant. It wasn't like some random, it was like a practice chant, almost like a 1, 2, 3, go! And everybody just started shouting, Osimhen! Osimhen! Like the entire stadium, reminiscent of a Colosseum and then a gladiator winning a battle and everybody shouting, just chants, and I'm thinking, how does this man feel just walking in just this mountainous volume of just his name? And people were saying a lot of stuff, and there was just a maxim that just came out, which was go where you're celebrated. And I thought about it. It's not just where you're celebrating; it is that sometimes grass is greener on the other side. Sometimes it is greener on the other side. So it's not. That's kind of a truth that the person who wants to make a life-altering decision has to tackle, because minus you with the courage, 90% of the people who know you and know you to be in this side, on this side of the divide, will want you to stay on this side of the divide.
Great.
And the type of things that can be used as not weapons, because it's not like they hate you, but used to remind you of the dangers would be the grass is not greener on the other side. So you have to do that thing of, let me be cold. What if the grass indeed is not greener on the other side? Will I still be okay with my decision? It takes a lot of courage. So there is no do it like this or do it like that. I'm like, no, good luck to you. Now you want change. Good luck to you. Now you want change. If you know it would be great, you would have been okay with your life. You're chasing greatness, that's your problem.
I can't. But the spirit always seeks full expression and expansion, you know?
But you curtail it. Curtail it. Stop it. You're causing me pain. I'm
You're causing me pain. I know the feeling. Like, I do that to myself. Like, whenever I achieve something that I've wanted to,
yeah.
and then I'm just in this place where I'm just like, okay, maybe I should rest. My spirit just goes something else, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's go. It's because that spirit always seeking full expression and expansion, bro. I'm glad I've been able to rest because I know myself. It's always like, okay, now I can rest, and then the minute you're like, next, we gotta go again, and so yeah, makes sense. So tell me about. I want to ask you about your film stories. But I'm not ready to ask you. But I'm just going to ask you quickly. When you left tech and you went into filmmaking, you have garnered so much success. Sorry, in such short time. What would you say has been paramount to that quick success? Because people who had been in that industry has taken almost even more than decades to be able to garner recognition, awards like you have, and you did it in like 2-3 years. Yes.
I mean, there's a part of the village. I was embraced by a lot of people, right? And I'm grateful to them all. I came into the industry and there were so many people who were just willing to help me. It was so good. They're just willing to help me. So they put me in rooms. They helped me open doors. I remember meeting, and my friend helped me into Ajoche, which was a telenovela. And off Ajoche, two things happened off Ajoche. I took some steps myself, which I'll talk about later, where someone had to give me a job. And the EP, that's the executive producer, met with me, spoke about me to the producer, and producer like, I know that name, Donald Tombia. Hey, Donald Tombia. Now that person was an extra on Ajoche.
Right. Ooh.
And it was like, anytime he reads my script, he has watched the episode. That was great. And so he was willing to help. And someone got me into another TV show. Now, I was meant to do some sort of tests to get in. But maybe the head writer Donald Trump there, like, well, that's a real person. Like, yeah.
By the way,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Google, you're the only person the internet recognizes as Donald Tombia. There is really no other Donald Tombia on Google.
Okay. Is that like a thing? Like,
I literally went to the 10th page. And the only information I'm getting is you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not kidding. I went to the first page. I went to the 3rd, the 5th, the 8th, and the 10th. It's just all you.
Is that exciting? I think
it should be. There are like over 7 billion people in the world, and the only person that Google recognizes as Donald Tombia is you.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's like a naming thing. I have a cousin that Donald Tombia.
Maybe he's not on the internet. Maybe he's not on the internet.
Okay. So yay. All right. So she was like, "Oh, that's a real person."
That's a real person.
Yeah, because she had read my script and she was like, "Oh, the scripts are so good. This cannot be the writing of a new writer.
Oh, I see.
It has to be an old writer who is using a pen name."
Oh, I see. So like an alias.
Yes. So that way she then heard that, oh, there is a Donald Trump. Oh, that's a real person. Okay. And so you had people of that sort who were always, willing to open the door for me. Right. And to be honest, there was no success I could have had without that village. They propping me up at the beginning time. And now one of the village chiefs, not in the industry, is in the education space. That's my boss in TDC. As in fun.
Yeah, got it.
So working with TDC and all that, I get to learn a lot of laws of creation and just how to be, right? Just how to just be, and that really that really helped me. So when I came in with clarity. I knew what I was looking for. I'd set a target. I explained that I can run a great distance. It doesn't matter. I can do 5 years of extreme hard work. I'm looking for something.
Yeah.
And so I knew what I was looking for. I went for it. I applied principles, right? For instance, for many years, the screen on my phone and the screen on my laptop have been the same, a collage of award-winning films.
Yeah.
Which goes to the principle of you produce what you see.
Got it. Yeah.
And so when movies I'm not even aware that the producers are putting in for awards, when they start winning awards, I'm just like, yeah.
We've said it long before.
You get.
Yeah.
So I'm able to articulate my success in that form because it's repeatable, not just by me, but by anybody who follows the things. Right, it's repeatable. I remember one of someone read the article I said read just one of my guys read it and he said, "There's nobody in this industry that gasses himself up like you gas yourself up." and we laughed over it, but I'm not thinking about it later and I thought, well, was I gassing myself up?
Well, when I read it, I think because you're my friend, it didn't seem like you were gassing yourself up. It's so interesting to see that someone's other perspective is you were gassing yourself up. As far as I read it, my perception is it was interesting to see that you who have known for such a long time, I'm beginning to see like the core of how you are. Yeah. So to me, it wasn't gassing yourself up. To me, it was unearthing the core of who you are and where your entire storytelling comes from.
So that's not the thing where I was like, oh my gosh, myself, oh, this is really how I get to see myself. I mean, that's how I see myself. And so I am confident. Yeah. Which sometimes is interpreted as, being
arrogant.
Yes. But you see, you can't be truly confident without being arrogant, even if just a little bit. so I have quite an arrogant streak about me, to be honest.
I think that the confidence is people perceive the same thing differently. I can never see you as arrogant because I perceive you as very confident and I'm also very secure in my confidence. I think it's why I would never see you as an arrogant person, but someone who isn't necessarily at that point will see it as arrogance. You know you're arrogant.
Me, I'm telling you, for arrogance. In some instances, I have done.
Okay, but that's intentional.
It is. I've learned. I remember listening to Pharrell one time, and Pharrell talked about the fact that sometimes you get into a room and you have to be able to modulate your aura. You didn't say it in that way, but that was the input.
Yeah, that's good.
Sometimes and when you do the blueprint, one of the those questions, how do people see you? It's so that you're aware of this thing, so you know how you are. Yeah. Coming at. Yeah. And there was a period where I was aware of how I come off.
But you were not regulating it.
I wasn't regulating it. Now, when I'm not I can step into a room and my natural, my director here told me that I was too comfortable at one point. Because I can naturally, I don't know what to be.
Funny thing is, for me, I'm like, let him be as comfortable as he needs to be. Right? And she's like, no, you're too comfortable.
so it's I walk into a place, I'm good. It's very easy for me to exude confidence. However, if I need to be able to modulate, if the next person is going to be put off by that, especially if I need that person.
That's wise.
Right. And I saw it being played out multiple times, but I did multiple negotiations in Tiger Logic. So sometimes I'll go with my CEO, Dejo Claudius Akeyemi, and I'll be listening to this man. We've done the calculations together. We've put figures left, right, and center. We know the maths. we've done Excel mathematics. Now this, and we'll see that okay, we have a huge buffer here. But the way this man is talking, as if he's a broke ass nigga. It's like, so I'm really saying, see the thing with the value that, sir, don't tell us about value. I don't have to tell you. Please just, I'm like, yo. But what he was doing, and I don't know if it's, I think that he learned that how sometimes you go into negotiations, especially if the next person has more power than you in that regard. That's how he learned it. But what he was really doing, in fact, to explain it in a repeatable process, was just modulating his energy. Right. Just knowing when to be that person. Who knowing, just modulating it. And so many times I've not been able, that's something that I still get to struggle with at times. Yeah. Sometimes I just come off as really, really confident in the type of confidence that can be misinterpreted. Because if we have a dispute, and I know that I am correct, I will wait for you to finish. I will not interrupt you.
Yeah, like don't waste my energy and arguing about.
Then I will now let you know why the foundation that you started 30 minutes ago was faulty, and I explained to you logically. And unfortunately, sometimes it has a way of making the next person feel put down and little and whatnot. And so I am very aware that I sometimes come off in that way when I do stuff of that nature. And so when I say I sometimes could be arrogant, that's what I mean. So it's not the definition of arrogance that you'll be raising shoulder. No, nothing of that sort. Nothing of that sort.
That's actually something that is really good, modulating your confidence.
Yeah. Not true. So some people teach humility in a doormat way.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that's not it. It is it's almost like the logic of you, the bridesmaid, chief bridesmaid. You go to come the shine past bride. Auntie, will you observe a little bit or calm down? Like, relax. It's not a spoken rule.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas this is hard.
Common sense.
It's very, very common sensical, right? Yeah. And a lot of the things that are kind of deep and just sound really, really, oh my God, zen. You can find them in just common mundane stuff. Yeah. So the analogy of the bride and the bridesmaid is the same thing I'm just talking about here. Sometimes you walk into someone's dream. This is the person's dream. This person has been waiting for this all their life. And then you bring the service. You walk into their dream. Let them have
the say.
Do you understand? Let them have their moment in the sun. Yours will come. And I've been burnt by not doing stuff of that nature. I've been burnt by not realizing that in that moment, you're in someone else's dream.
That is brilliant. I like the way that you are taking your mistakes and transforming it into quick learns.
Yeah.
And integrating it into further experiences. I think something that I really realized this year for myself is the fact that when I realized the mistakes that I've made for a very long time, like almost all my life, and I'm able to then call myself to say, you know what, this is not nice. Like the whole modulating your aura thing, because when you're not in your dream, you should regulate yourself. And I realized that at the beginning, if I do it again, because this is a habit, I can't just stop it abruptly. And I realize I feel like I start to weaponize it against myself when I do it. But I then had to, because I have the tools and the knowledge of when I see that I'm doing something bad, it's a waste of time to weaponize it against myself. I should take the learning and integrate it. So outside of weaponizing it, I stop to then say, notice. And then in noticing, it then begins to help me shift the gear into differently. So how are you doing that on your end of, okay, now I know that I do this. I'm taking it. I'm now regulating. What is that? If you could give a context or not context, a naming or a nomenclature, like the way I know, what I'm doing right now, because people don't actually have it. Like you said, sometimes you're not able to articulate it.
Yeah.
I was not able to articulate that what I'm doing is weaponizing something against myself. But I gave credit to say, I at least understood, or I was caught aware about it, and then now I'm weaponizing, and then now I'm noticing, and then now I'm integrating. What does that look like for you?
That's being human. And obviously I will explain what I mean. We're not the only living creatures, like humans.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between us and the next animal is just evolution, right? Just evolution. And evolution comes from growth, right?
Yeah.
Growth comes from um, doing things differently.
Great.
You can call it innovation, you can call it introspection and the likes, but just doing things differently. If fire was never bettered when it was, and everybody just eats cold food, everyone freeze it at night, right? Beers don't have anything to scare them off.
Right.
So, but just doing something differently to get fire just births a whole new set of possibilities, and that leads to evolution.
Got it.
Right now, that's the basic form of evolution. Now, so then in my life and next person's life, you have to be able to evolve. Else, you are not fully maximizing the beauties of being human. You have to be able to evolve. You have to be able to do things differently. That's why I explained those things. So you have to be able to do things differently, and to be able to do a thing differently, it means you have looked at this result, looked at the things that led to this result, decide, do I like the result? Do I like the level of the result? Can I times X this result? So, okay, so what do I then do differently? I've had results that I loved. I've won awards left, right, and center. There's no part of me that is about to change my visualization. Or not change the fact that I visualize things. But if I say tomorrow I want to build a company that does XYZ, but then in winning my awards, I've been looking at award-winning films and TV series. I want to build a company. It's not the visualization that is changing. It would be what I am visualizing. To do that, it means there is evolution going on in my life. Because at one point, I wanted to win awards that has a certain selfish, singular thing to it. I want to build a company that will give people labor to help the economy, to have exports for Nigeria. But now that's evolving, and that's human. So anyone who doesn't introspect, doesn't look at what happened just 2 minutes ago, doesn't look at what happened 5 years ago, and then decide whether or not they want to increase the results, change the results, improve upon the results, get the same result but in a smoother way. If you don't do that, then you're just left to the whims and caprices of life. Right? You do not get to then evolve. Now, there's a burden of knowledge. Because I know what to do doesn't mean that I get to do what I do. Right? Because I know what to do. And the burden of knowledge, unfortunately, breeds shame. Right. And society has been, a lot of people are driven by shame.
Right.
It's not peculiar to our time. It has always been. If you can get a handle of that. In fact, the Christian religion, the major adversary, his core weapon is shame.
Right. How do you mean? Could you give further context there?
Yeah, there's a part in scripture that says the Holy Spirit comes not to convict you of your sin, but to remind you of your righteousness.
Right.
There's a story in the Bible where there's the woman who was accused of adultery. I wonder where the man was, but forget about the man. The woman was accused of adultery and people wanted to stone her for shame.
Yeah.
And Jesus never addressed
The shame.
The shame.
Got it.
Because that would have been him using that weapon. According to history based on the Bible, our problems started because of shame that Adam had. It wasn't because Eve disobeyed. It wasn't that. It wasn't because Adam joined her. It wasn't that. People were also think that wasn't it. Why? Because if you read the Bible says God came in the cool of the evening. That's what his custom. Dude was still coming to chill. Was like, ooh, all knowing, omniscient, omnipresent. I knew you were going to do this thing before. Yes, I knew. So it wasn't stopping him. But what happened was that they were ashamed.
Yeah, and that took the entire changed the entire thing.
And so the core shame drives a lot of human culture, and the burden of your knowledge comes with the baggage of shame. Because if I knew not to, if I know now not to have done this thing, but then I find myself doing the same thing, then suddenly shame comes because you know better.
Yeah.
But if you can win that fight against shame, if you can cut yourself some slack, evolution doesn't come without mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? Evolution came with wars, casualties, death, and those were errors. People shouldn't have died, but then life shouldn't have been lost. People shouldn't have had to weep for the entirety of their lives because of their kids, because of their families, because of their spouses. Could we not have evolved without these things? This type of pain, slavery should not have happened. It was despicable having people put in these type of situations. And so with evolution comes that type of pain. And so you will have that type of pain if you are evolving. You will have the things that will hit you and make you go, oh my God. If you can rise above that shame. Again, I will just revert back to some of the lines in scriptures in the Bible, scriptures where it says something about condemnation. There is therefore now no condemnation. And that is so huge. I kind of feel like the entire body of Christ should sit on that, because human evolution comes on the shoulders of shame. And if you and the major adversary as postulated by Christianity knows this and takes it as a weapon. So when you talk about weaponizing, what's happening is shame.
Yes.
And there is no greater sense of shame than shame that you believe you have a hand in.
Yeah.
When you think that, I cannot do this to myself.
Yeah.
Think about the richness of the story, the prodigal son. That was just it.
Yeah.
He could have just stayed with pigs, going, I brought this upon myself. But the moment he won the battle against Shane, that was it. End of story. Story just ended.
I also think that, have you seen Succession?
I've started, I've not gone.
I think I learned a lot from Succession because I started to see that when you do not have what your opponents have, it puts you in a state of lack, which is like hand in hand with shame as well. When I started to study people who are very wealthy, the way they handled what people who were not as wealthy call shame is different. So I realized that with a wealthy person, because I've had to sit with a couple of them and hear how they speak and everything. And to me, I'm just like, aren't you ashamed? But then they're just like, I've already given myself that freedom not to feel shame. Do you see? It's why I think Africans will always have this constant conversation about how the Europeans enslaved and everything, and you don't see them having a say in that because we've risen above that long before and all. So you were once a pastor.
Almost.
Okay.
In that cloud.
In that cloud, yeah. And there's something I've seen on your Instagram a couple of years ago that says that when you were training to become a pastor, you were told that, you shouldn't smile as much as you do because 9 out of 10 times you're always smiling and laughing. And I thought to myself how devastating that was, because if I think about Donald, the first thing I think about is how much Donald smiles.
Mm.
I think we have like maybe 1 or 2 pictures together, and your teeth was all over like you are now. And I think to myself how that must have been a bondage to you, where you were trying to serve God and do His works, and be a, for lack of a better word, a shepherd to His people, and you were told not to be yourself. And I wanted to know, how did your soul and your spirit and your heart and the core of who you are navigate those times where you had to shut who you are down to be able to serve God?
So let me make it worse. That wasn't the period.
Let me make it worse.
That wasn't the period I was trying to. I was never actively trying to be a pastor.
Okay.
But that was not even the period. This was university. This was maybe in 2006 or 2007. I done that thing that a lot of people would do, where you give your life to Christ, and you go and play small, and give your life to Christ again, and play again, and you're like, wait, have I given my life to Christ? I think that's like everybody's life. Well, maybe not everyone, but that was my life. So there was just a period where, I was in church. I started enjoying church activities. It was very fun. University campus, CFI, Christian Fellowship International. And it was very fun. So I was in everything. I was in dance, right? I wasn't really in drama. It was dance, like dance was everything. People knew me for dance, and I used to do some other things. And I remember that was when a pastor said to me, and he tied it to seriousness, and nobody would take me serious. I keep smiling like this, and I'm too playful.
Like, the pastor should not be playful.
And there are many times when you don't even understand the import of what has been said to you. So to be honest with you, I can't say, oh, this is what it made me do. I lost myself. I didn't. Okay. Right, I didn't. To be honest with you, I didn't. So I didn't take his words to. I did not realize that I even remembered his words. So what I did or did not do as a result of it was, I don't even know. So I don't even know if I lost a part of myself. I don't know. Right. I only remembered it, but so right before that post or something, I remembered, I think someone must have complimented on my smile or something of the sort. That's when I remember that this dude once upon a time, where is he? I hope you're okay. I hope you're still in God. I hope God is blessing you. Because how dare you?
But they do what they know to do.
Oh, true. So, oh yes, I remember when I remembered it. Right, I was in a church, Upper Baptist Church. That's where they were angling for me to be a pastor. And I remember a lady coming to me and telling me that sometimes she's sad. She comes to church. It doesn't matter whether I'm preaching or I'm teaching. When she sees me smile, she's okay. And it made such a profound impact on me. Deeper than someone come to me and say, that word, yes, sir. Deeper than any of those things. At the time I would drive on, I'm very audience driven. So I'm speaking. No matter that Holy Spirit is working. Oh God, you do your own. I do my own. I want to see people reacting to what it is I'm saying. So I'm teaching. So there's always like feedback when I see someone like writing nose. Rema is hitting that one. I see people, right? But when she said that, it made such a profound impact on me. Made me go back and sit and just be like, oh, okay. Your smile is healing. It is. Your smile is healing. And that's when I remembered what this person said. Okay. Right. And I didn't remember it in context of, if I had not listened. I just remembered it. I was just like, I hope God is still blessing you. Because like this. But yeah, that was it. I do have stuff where I thought the church got it wrong with me in church. I've experiences where I thought God got you wrong because I had to kind of switch off parts of me to be of service, not to God, but to the church. And at the time, I did not know. So I always say at the time I did not know because life is just happening, and you can't do more
realize
than
in retrospect.
yes, and you can't do more than your awareness. Which is tied to evolution. There's all you have to be humble enough to know that what you know about a thing is not all there is to know. So I was in church. When I cracked open the Bible, I fell in love with the poetry of it, with the storytelling. Was able to draw out things from within deeper meanings. But again, that also came through the help of the Holy Spirit and also because of the type of mind that I have. And the Bible is not the first religious book I'm cracking open. Yeah. I used to be an avid reader of The Grail Message by Abroshin. And I've been around. Yeah, I've gone to Kingdom Hall, Jehovah Witness. I've been to multiple denominations, and that's the word, multiple denominations, Grail Land. So just cracking the Bible open, just seeing stuff, just reading this. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Okay, this guy, they say he was swallowed by a fish for 3 days. I don't really believe that we should take this literally because the only thing I can think of that would do this would possibly be a whale. Yeah, and, just those type things. And I'm able to, I remember there's a saying by A.W. Tozer, revelation must have application. Don't just come about and just tell me, oh, this is what the law says.
What do we do with it?
What do we do with it? So that helped me to ground a lot of things. But then the church is an organization. So when the Bible talks about, I'll build my church, gate of hell cannot prevail. It's not talking about four walls.
Yeah.
So the church, as in four walls, an organization, has a purpose to spread the gospel, hopefully, but it's an organization. And so every organization looks for committed workers. And they look for stars and linchpins, people they can build with. I happen to be one of those people in that church. Now my sweet spot is speaking, not teaching. There's a world of difference.
Got it.
Yes. Speaking, I've prepared my speech. I've gone over my speech and everything I want to say. I'm clear about what I want to say. And then I go and I climb off stage and I have my speech and I can drop, and I've done my research. It is rich. I want to be prepared. Right? And then I want you to be able to think. Teaching, and maybe even if I have 45 minutes, I can do that. With teaching, I maybe have to break down this concept. I don't have time to break down the concept, but I have to break down the concept. And I would do both effectively, but then speaking was my core. But the church did not particularly give me that space to discover that. What just happened was, because I'm just a Bible scholar. Oh yeah, come and be assistant pastor. I'm like, no, I don't want to be assistant pastor. No, I don't. I don't pray like your man. You guys used to wake up at night to pray. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. He said he give his beloved rest. He's not talking about sleep, but his beloved, like, no. They're like, hey, don't be assistant pastor. And next thing I knew, I became head of teaching. Right. And sometimes I would teach and preach on Sunday. And then I had midweek also. And at some point, there was burnout. And what I was doing out of just the
duty.
Yeah, what I was doing out of just the curiosity of my mind. Right? Geniuses and people who are just extremely brilliant. The one common trait they have, regardless of industry, is just the curiosity of their minds.
Great.
So what I was doing based on curiosity just became duty.
Yeah.
And I am not the structure type person. Once you put that becomes the shackle. So because it's so peculiar to me, it might be unfair of me to say it is the church on people.
Right.
But my experience was that the things that they required of me went against my person. And so I was doing things. I want to skip church the way I would skip class.
Yeah.
It's not about you, it's me.
Yeah.
But you don't get it.
Yeah.
Because you think that if I do it, you then label me with I have backslid, which is then the weapon of shame. At some point, I had to sit down to say, this ain't me. All right, no. And then I just left the church. That's the end of the story. well, part of the end, but yeah.
I love it. To just quickly write on that, you've told me what your faith was then. What is it now, and what difference has that change brought to you?
At one point, I was disillusioned by the fact that names we get to call God are names that people old called him. And the names that they called him were based on the experiences of him. So El Shaddai and all those ones are based on the experiences of him. And I'm just like, I don't want to be calling you what another person called you. It's almost like we are married and I'm calling you sweetheart.
It's generic.
Right. And it is, let me find a, say for instance, we're married, there's a fire. Right. And then I save you from the fire. And you start calling me
Savior
or your firefighter. Let's make it kind of sweet. My firefighter. Yes, my firefighter, my ice water. My ice water. Right? Come here. And the next thing, our grandkids get married. And then our granddaughter is calling her spouse my ice water. Auntie, why?
Have your own experience, for God's sakes.
So I got a disillusion with just the idea of that we are doing this. We are Abraham's grandchildren and children, and then we are still calling God by those names. It just didn't mean that we don't have our personal experiences with him and stuff. And got to a point where I realized when it now became he started taking me through some stuff, and I was like, okay, so God my teacher. And he showed me some part where I can actually call him father, not because everybody just calls him father, because there are some things that were revealed to me by him that I saw in scriptures after reading deeply. And when I stepped away from the church organization, there was a huge amount of guilt, uncertainty, and shame that hit me. Like, Ogbeni, do not forsake it. Do not forsake the gathering. You are forsaken. You are forsaken thou. How dare you? Who do you think you are? To take this type of step? And there was just that barrage of stuff, and it didn't help that a lot of people for like a full decade had been the church boy. It didn't help that a lot of people around me, both close, near, far, lovely relationships. Like I was the poster child for church. Right, I was the poster child. It did not help that a lot of these people have a definition for someone who took the kind of step that I took. It did not help because even if they born their way to talk you hear it in undertones. You hear it. And sometimes I might just have the courage, just have the balls to say this out loud so we can tackle it. Rather than that, you now make it the underbelly of what it is you're saying. It's more painful because I'm hearing your words, but I'm like, you actually really mean this. And it's just painful. And so I was just really with a lot of pain at the time. And uncertainty. I just knew that I was drained by the organization of church and I wanted to stay away. Then that's when I started really experiencing the whole teacher thing. What I did was I told God this was again personal to me. I'm like, I'm not going to read the Bible. Or just stay away from the Bible. I'm not going to read it. There's a part in the scripture that says that those people who are not able to look at nature and thank God or see God through nature, it still is they'll still be held accountable for that. I'm like, yeah, so teach me without the Bible. You cannot be restricted to the Bible. What about if I'm blind? I have no access to Braille. Does it mean that I have a wall between me and you? Yeah. What if I'm illiterate? Yeah. Right? Does it mean I'm like, no. After all, again, it's said that in former times, he will speak to us to our fathers. In this time, it's in our hearts. Yeah. So I'm going through life.
Show yourself.
That was the situation I had like 2 years back. So I think where I am now is a place where there is. Sorry, I'm struggling to use cliche words like peace and stuff like that. There is just the way I know that I'm a boy, I'm a guy. The way I know that, I don't have to think about it. The way now I'm breathing air, I don't have to think about it. There's a mechanism that already is natural to me. Breathe in, breathe out. It's when maybe I have a panic attack or something of the sort. Then now I have to do some things. Yeah. But just my being, the way I just am with myself, is just the way I am with God right now, where there is just a flow to it, where is that if I am struggling, I'm still with him. I'm still able to catch glimpses, and if I say to a person says it is faith, I'm like, okay, it's faith will be great stuff, but it is with him. Now I understand it is in him we live, we move, and we have our being. Yeah. We are our person. Yeah. So where I am now is a place where I'm not fully able to articulate, but it is to die for. I won't trade you for any other.
I love it. I love it. That is really good. Okay.
How are we doing so far?
Awesome. How are you? Are you enjoying it?
Yes, I am. I love talking.
I know.
You know, I have to talk. I'm like, let me just talk. Let me.
I love it. So now the core questions.
Okay.
What is the truest, most genuine expression of fulfillment mean to you? So, for me personally, when I'm doing something of maybe great impact to people in the aspects of education, there's just this fulfillment that washes around me. So, and maybe at the beginning, I didn't know that was what I was going to feel, but I had an idea. It's like when you're having like a lighter, you're trying to make fire, but it's like,
got it.
Yeah. So in terms of your life's fulfillment or your life's calling, what does it look like? What is the truest expression of it? What does it look like?
I don't know.
After you just said you like talking. That's how I fall into your heart.
Like I can talk about the moments that have given me the greatest fulfillment.
Okay.
But I don't know if these are like the highest expressions. So I had a great deal of fulfillment when there was an episode of a show that I had made, 2 episodes I had written, and people cried. Not because I considered crying or tearing on to be like the highest for me, but it just was just a show that these people's emotions had been moved. And as a filmmaker, our tool of trade is we buy and sell emotions.
Got it.
By me saying, come watch this thing, I'm trying to invest your emotions in it. And so I need to be able to manipulate your emotions. Right? That's just what the filmmaker is all about. It peddles emotions. So when that happened, and I remember I was in a story workshop, I was in a hotel, and watching this, it was Slum King episode 2. I was watching it.
I did cry at Slum King as well.
Yeah.
I'm a bad guy. I cried.
Actually, 2 and 10. Yeah. And this is why it was very, very moving for me. It's an action film.
Yeah.
And people were crying when they were beating people up.
Yeah.
Like they just beat, so they just literally bludgeon the person to death. And you're crying. Why are you crying? You're crying for a murderer. But it was because there was success. So I think success really, really is a huge expression. Success that I have defined, not necessarily just success. So that's one. Just that was like a point where I felt really, and then I when I can help beyond words, it fulfills me. Now, this I've always known that I have the gift of gab, right? So I can talk. I can talk my way out of situations. I can talk myself into situations. I can I can talk. So that's why I've learned that it's a cheap trick to just advise people.
I like that.
It's a pat on your back. Yeah, I've helped you. I'm like, that's bullshit. And I know that because when I'm in my own quagmire, they advise me, Baba. Baba, no going to find this. I say, man, you may go invest my fee. They say, God bless. No, they advise me.
I get what you mean.
So being able to help genuinely, where you ask me for bread and I give you bread, I don't tell you how bread is bad for your health. That maybe you should go with yam.
Got it.
No, I give you bread. Yeah, that is. So one of the, money is a thing that can do that.
Do that, yeah.
And I am so driven to the gathering of wealth, to the distribution of wealth. I want to be able to look at the education system in Nigeria and say myself and 6 of my friends are going to build 3 schools. And then this is the curriculum for the schools, right? This is how they are going to learn. We build the curriculum and yeah, you take your exams that you need to progress and whatever, or you do this. We need you to understand the history of this country. We need you when we're teaching you hierarchy and hierarchy and see. We're not telling you hierarchy. We're not telling you, okay, so David killed Goliath, and so David. No, we're trying to let you know that these things, they are stories, but they're also allegories. Yeah, you need to understand that you would have a Goliath. Yeah. But by the time you get to your Goliath, you must have your lion stories. You must have your bear stories. You must have had victories at this point. Victories at this point. We're teaching from a history point of view. It's not just, what are the 36 states in Nigeria? No, we're saying before Nigeria, these were the factors at play. This is how Nigeria came about. These were the people who sat in another country and decided that they need, for them to impact society, they want to separate the government from the common man. So what they will do is that they will build private organizations such as the Royal something of Nigeria. God, why has your name left my head? On a live podcast, I cannot remember this thing.
It's okay.
Anyway, what the UK government did was rather than just interfering, they were able to fund, right, using like policies and the like, to fund some private companies, and those ones are loyal to the government, and then they are the ones that are now executing
from the policies of the government.
Really, it's the government that's ruling the people, but this is the government from that country, and from there, some other things came about. I want the kids to know that my fullest expression will be to be able to shape the nation, Yeah, see, I know it actually. And I think that's why.
That's why I said think about
Yeah,
it.
that's kind of why I get along very well with Ofonebo, but it's similar,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
She has beauty, the city to shape the nation,
Mm.
and I also have that drive,
Mhm.
but it isn't shape the nation from a let's only say good things about the country because angels are listening, or
I get what you mean.
yeah,
So Nigerians are so centered on religion.
nah, it's more like look. What are things that need to change? There's some pillars of education. Um, the Egun, in you look at the Yoruba, the Eguns, and there was a time where education was a problem. So their rulership was split between those who were educated and those who were not educated, and those who were not educated served the ones that were educated,
Mm-hmm.
right? Until they now realized education is a problem. Education is a problem in Nigeria.
Right.
Now, education is fed to us through school, through culture, through church. Yeah. And if you can affect these pillars, you can affect the nation.
I agree.
And so my highest um expression
Mm-hmm.
would be being put in a position where I can affect the nation.
Got it.
That would be it.
I like it. I really do. What does a genuine friendship look like and feel like for you?
Genuine friendship.
Yeah.
It's a tough
It
question.
is tough.
It's a tough question to answer.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a tough question to answer
how so?
because there's a lot of misconceptions about friendship.
Uh-huh.
Where like being there all the time for a person, I might not be there for you. Doesn't mean I'm less of a friend.
Okay.
All right. I might think that what you need in this present time is to go through your own shit by yourself.
Okay.
Right. So I think a friend is a person who will constantly just strive to understand you at every given point. Right. Where if you are evolving, you are growing. Your friend is a person who understands that inherently, and just strives to understand you. So, genuine friendship for me is striving to understand my people, those who I call friends.
Yeah.
And I've had friends who our friendship has spanned decades. We've grown in different ways. And there are some people who we stop being friends. Now we are really tight friends.
Mm.
And I think it's because sometimes I've had friends who at one period in their life they were not very communicative. I don't think that's a word. Maybe I just created a word.
I'm sure there's communicative.
They were not that, and because they're going through their own shit,
Yeah.
what they did not want to say, that can be very frustrating.
Yeah.
But just understanding where this person is, I kind of understanding what the person needs in that moment, without making it about yourself, right? I have friends who, at one point, they were disturbed by the fact that Donald doesn't reach out.
Mm.
But then they have to then learn that Donald is the person who will cross through several mountains for you,
Okay.
but will not pick up his phone to say, "Yo, what's up?"
Yeah.
Because what are we saying, right? Um, so it's really just, I think genuine friendship would be you just trying to understand me per time, me trying to understand you per time.
Okay.
Every other thing follows.
Right.
The hangouts, the gist, the laughter, every other thing follows, right? But if you don't understand that, for instance, I'm in a stage where I have to be holed up in my house because I cannot have to work. I started a company, I'm running this company. If you don't understand that, what will happen is that it's tough for you to be a friend.
Yeah.
It's tough for you to be. It will just affect every other thing. So yeah, I would say genuine friendship, which I've never actually thought about before. But I would say genuine friendship rides on the wings of the willingness to understand the next person.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Hmm.
That's good. Who's Donald Tombia to Donald Tombia?
Tombia is so colorful that it's quite tough to say who he is to himself in and encapsulate it in a summary. It's tough because he himself has made multiple versions of himself, and they really are the same person. So he has met himself when he was a very, very shy kid whose confidence was snagged by his environment. He got into this environment dominated by rich kids. He thought you could use smarts to best them, but those rich kids were now smart. I don't understand that combination. They're now smart, and so everything that he knew about his life was a lie. That poor people rule is a lie. He has met himself as extremely shy. He has met himself as the overly confident person. He has met himself as the person who is so responsible. He puts elders to shame. He has met himself also as the irresponsible ass. that you go, like, dude, what were you thinking? He has met himself as the father who he wishes he had. But then again, he has met himself as that father who looks at his own father and like, Daddy, help me. How did you do it? He has met himself as a lover who he enjoys. And also as a lover who thinks he's ruining the next person's life. Right. And that is unfortunate to love him. He has met himself in all this light. So he's extremely colorful. He has met himself as the dreamer whose dreams are fueled by the fact that they become reality. He also met himself as the myopic person who doesn't realize that we are in a space-time continuum, that things take time to materialize, even though they have been in the spiritual. To get so it's tough to say, oh, Donald is this person. It's safe to say that he is some sort of kaleidoscope. Right, that you see him in this light now.
Now you see me, now you don't.
Yeah. But to the discerning, it's the same person.
I agree. I love the way you've described the different nuances of you, two opposing truths of being a lover and being someone who was very hard to love at the same time. And I feel like people don't cut themselves the slacks of, like you said, we're in a time continuum where you should experience the different parts of you. I was saying to myself this year, like, I realized how much love I can give and how much havoc I can cause all at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's insane. So I really like the way you put it.
In fact, let me drag church.
I love it. Let's go.
So the church is littered with characters that have paradoxes in them, but rather the church just wants to just brainwashes everyone to fixate on just the good. For instance, if I see Elisha, right, I don't think I can be in the same place with Elisha. I think he's an ass. I totally think he's an ass. That people call you bold, children, and you kill them. If that story is to be believed, you kill the kids. I can't be in the same room. We'll fight. Like, I can't be in the same. Like, he's an ass. But he was also the person that just did in multiple things that he did. David was a person whose fingers were able to create the type of music that gets into your spirit. You're not just hearing it. Like, I can just imagine Saul just sitting on his throne and just forgetting the king. Just a boy running on one field like that. There are no more demons. There is just him on the field. But this nigga used those same fingers to kill a freaking giant. Like, he was both the artist and the warrior.
Yeah.
And then you have your Jesus that says he's the lion, he's the lamb.
Yeah.
Like,
Those are two opposing truths, but there's still truths.
And so I find it weird when a person shows a different side to who they are, and we vilify the person. But that's what generally, yes, that's what, and really it's not just church,
it's everyone,
but it's just society, really, where you are meant to be one thing and one thing only. And part of the acceptance, maybe again because I am an octopus, right? It's allowed me to accept the fact that I can do multiple things, and also that means I can be multiple persons. Or have multiple expressions of myself, however you want to say it. But the idea is that I can be good and bad at the same time, right? I can be just multiple things that are paradoxical and still exist as a single entity, right? The acceptance of that is the acceptance that Solomon, with the fact that he was all up in multiple women's business, still considered the wisest of them all. So, because you'll be like, you already pursue man, you're not foolish. But
you know what's so funny is that there's also a scripture that says that about a man being careful with women. I think it's in Proverbs as well. And the man who is writing this is the same man who has 700 wives and how many concubines?
Solomon's wives, though, this is again church history. Solomon's wives are very strategic. That's how David was conquering. David was expanding through wars and the likes. Solomon was expanding through inter.
Yeah, I think it was really wise because he was just going. He didn't want to fight. He's a chilled boy. He's a reader.
Yeah, because if you are from this country and from this country, and then I marry someone from your land, royalty, we can't fight anymore. Why? Because the child is both my child and your child. So now we have created this alliance. That's why kings in those times would say, "Yeah, you go and marry this person." Nigga was, so it was not just arbitrary. Right. It was strategic. It was wise.
While enjoying himself in the bedroom.
Well.
Okay.
Well.
As a man, how do you separate your ego from what your heart is saying? Like when your ego is telling you to do something versus, and I ask you this question because I know you're in tune with your heart as a man. Not a lot of men are, but I know you are, so I can ask this. When your ego is saying something versus what your heart is saying, which do you lean more into, or how do you navigate that dance?
So when you say ego, what do you mean?
Like your intellect or your mind.
Got it.
Yeah, versus what your heart and your spirit and your soul is really saying.
I've caught myself having to spell it out. I'm like, let me be cold in this instance, right? Because I code logic pretty much. So let me code in this instance. So let me think from a logical standpoint.
Right.
Okay, so let me pull out the facts, the cold hard facts, right? And that is the only way, really. I think not even knowing that a decision or a choice, not knowing what is driving a decision or a choice, can be long-term devastating. You have to be able to not lie to yourself. So what is driving this? There are some decisions, the hardest of them are driven by both.
Yeah. Okay.
Driven by both. But you now need to be able to see that. It's almost like doing pros and cons. But doing pros and cons first and foremost under the labels of ego, in this sense. Excuse me. And heart. Humans are creatures of emotions.
Got it. Yeah.
Not logic. Emotions. That's why storytelling is so powerful. Because it deals with what propels the human. We buy products based on emotions.
Yeah.
Not really logic. You can come to me tomorrow and tell me that toothpaste and do that close up. Close up used to make teeth fall out. It's tough for me to go and buy another brand because I have an emotional connection to toothpaste. To close up rather. Right. So the way I've done it, right? The times I have done it to try and separate both, I've said the words, let me be cold. I've said those words to myself, let me be cold, because I'm trying to say to myself, let me apply logic to this. At that point, it doesn't matter what I feel. It matters to me at the time analyzing my situation. So a good example is before I left my job, my job was paying me very, very ridiculously well. And I'm coming to an industry, I'm going to start from the beginning and have a family. I want to do this thing. My heart is in this thing. I know fully well that in the next 10 years in tech, I'll rise to the top. But if I take that same energy and I put it in this, I know fully well I'll rise to the top as well in entertainment. And I know that because I love it, I'll be more fulfilled. But now, that's the emotional part, that's the heart. I'm choosing to come into this industry based on heart. Now let me be cold. Because I need it. I need to be grounded. I need to be able to think.
Okay. I want to talk about your new movie.
Yay!
First of all, that's such a long title. And of course, I'm just like, who else would do something different but Donald Tombia? We all know this. Or there is no bus stop on this trip. What? That's such a long title. And I think that I'm super excited to say it because when you told me that your pastor cannot see this movie, I'm like, now let's get to business. And because I've seen like the part of the cuts, and I've seen scenes where I have never ever seen in any Nigerian movie. I'm excited. I'm excited because you've done the work of breaking the religious barriers in storytelling to show actual truths and realities that most writers are unable to, because there is the barrier of, oh, we can't necessarily do this because of, I mean, I'm not in the film industry, so I don't know what the restrictions are. But from what I've seen from my own world, it's more of a religious or cultural restrictions. And you just broke it all. That's exciting. And tell me about it.
I mean, that wasn't the aim, right? The aim wasn't to wage a war against organized structure. No, the aim, twofold for the film, or there's no bus up on the strip. Twofold. One, to show my range, to show the world that I've added a skill.
Got it.
All right, I'm now writer director. Yeah, so that was one. Two is the birth of my production company. And so this is to also give me leverage from a strategic point of view.
Got it.
So that when I want to go meet investors with the big bucks, I can say, see what I have done.
Right.
So I'm asking you for this amount before you open mouth to say, I'm like, look at proof that your money is best spent this way that I'm telling you to spend it. All right. So that was the aim, or these were the aims. In creation, we always follow the path of the creator.
Okay.
And so while I did not consciously go, oh, this is a thesis on the ills of religion, and no. But because of where I am, the type of person I am, I'm like, okay, and I'm telling a story for this, no shackles. I don't have network. Network has their rules, regulations are sometimes tied to policies by government. Government policies are also sometimes tied to culture. So you are correct in that line, but you would have to pull down how you are correct in it. But I'm doing this. I have to enjoy what I'm doing, right? I'm doing it for the audience of really just one, not even me, just God. Once he enjoys it, I'm good, right? But I also have to make it commercial in terms of, it's not just my family and friends that should like it, but general populace, tying to the second aim which second aim, which is get money from investors. So in working out the story, I just merged with it.
Right.
And so the story really is about hardship in the country, right? It's really about the economic, crinkle crankle that we're currently in 2024. And the activities that the couple in the story engage in are their truth. Like you would recognize those activities because you are in that type of situation. They are not the type of activity where they are to stroke the creator's ego. No, everything in the story must serve the story. And so they serve the story. If for instance in your story people want to organize a vigil, then having your main character tie scarf, right, or wear them, those long flowing,
White garments.
maybe not white garment, just flowing skirts, having a tambourine in the house and all that is not far-fetched because they want to hold a vigil in their house. It's not far-fetched. Having an irate neighbor who comes to bang on the door by 2 a.m. Men I go sleep. Men I go sleep, you don't do. God don't hear on that. It's not far-fetched. You would have people who it might not be your exact experience, but you have an empathic link with this thing because you can recognize it.
Got it.
So what we did was that we engaged in some activities that people would not naturally want to admit to,
Right.
right? Which they do anyway, but they will not want to admit to because of shame. So yeah, we did that, and so the story looks at the Nigerian economy. So it's a very simple story. It looks at the Nigerian economy, our lending system, where you have all them loan apps and the likes that you borrow money from. We looked at the universal concept of love, right? And so we just told in a very simple way. However, there are 5 things my story must hit. All my stories have to hit, regardless of what platform I'm doing the stories on. Or the 5 things: SCAATH.
What is that?
First, they must be simple.
Okay.
Like my grandmother must be able to watch and understand, right? 2, culture needs to be in there. Now, when I say culture, I don't necessarily mean the Igbo culture, the Yoruba culture, or the Delta culture. No, culture in terms of the story situated in a place. The people of that place have a way of living. These things must come out, right? A, art, or then visual arts. I'm not watching a film, just see people walking up and down. There has to be artistry behind it. There has to be something compelling for me to be glued to my screen, because TV film is visual arts.
Okay.
So art. There has to be tension. You
So
get
put us at the edge of our seats.
you dig? There has to be something about the story that makes you go, I cannot blink.
Ooh. I felt
get-
that way with Slum King.
Yes.
And Tin Cell for a while too.
Like I can't blink. I can't miss. So for some like slumping or things, so especially the
Early.
well, I can't miss this next episode. It doesn't matter where I am. Wherever I'm sat, I'm antsy because I need to be in front of my team.
Yeah.
We had it with Tales by Moonlight.
Yeah.
We had it with there's no even Tales by Moonlight. I wanted to say Super Story.
Yeah, we did.
Super Story.
Oh my God.
Once it is 8 p.m., you find people running to where they.
I think for me it was I need to know.
I need to know. Yeah. So
that's such a good one.
yeah. So tension. What is yes, but tension. Then H, heart.
What?
No, heart.
Got it.
Yes, you need to have that because that's what we're peddling, emotions. Your heart is not swayed in any form of way or form. If you don't feel something, like for the characters, then
Yeah.
I can come to you now and I say, when I was driving, there was an accident, and one man and one woman died. And like, hey, yeah, sorry. Okay, we move on. But I can come here now and I say, there was an accident and almost after my brother died. The reaction is different.
Yeah.
Right? And that's because there is an em- empathy link,
Yeah.
right? There's an empathy link. And so heart means that we get to create an empathy link between the audience and the characters.
Okay.
So these five things all the stories have to have. And Ode has these five things. It's simple. Anybody that watches it will understand the story, but because of some of the things, okay, then I'll get there, but we understand the story. See, there's culture in it. You will know that these are Nigerians living in the real world. You will feel them. You feel their. You will see this is their way of living, and I can recognize their way of living, right? We lean heavily on art because we're like it's a simple story, but the way we tell the story matters.
Right.
I can tell a simple story of a man who falls in love with a woman, right? It's a simple story. I can tell it in Pretty Woman style. And I'm like, oh my god! But that's what it is. Just Pretty Woman. It's just a boy who loves a girl,
Yeah.
right? Tension. We got to a point where there was tension, and you're just like, what's happening? Someone taps you and says, there's a mosquito on your head. Yeah, you're just like, leave me. I just see, leave me. And then there's the heart part where you care about the characters. You feel what you're feeling at the end, and you're really rooting for them. You are saddened by their failure, right? So it is that story, and I'm really, really proud of it. And I think that Nigerians ought to be also proud of it. But that's again, I told you about. Now I now know that my highest stuff is kind of like service to the nation. I'm like, yeah, now I know. I can use it every time. I use it every time. So yeah, Nigerians, because I generally always tweet movies about movies, Nigerian movies I think Nollywood ought to be proud of. Right, I think this will be one of them where we can say, you know what, we are proud of this. We are proud of how this was done. Attention was paid to every possible or potential detail out there. We didn't scrimp on the parts that make a movie great. We did everything that we needed to do, and we are still doing it because as at the time of this recording, we're still in post production. And yeah.
Well done. I can't wait to say it because I know the way your mind is and the way your mind works, and I'm always happy to see your movie. Not just because you're my friend. I'm glad that I don't have to be obligated to do the duty of friendship to see your movies.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it because I know this is great work.
And I'll be lying.
It's not been like that with your movies, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I haven't even seen a lot of it because I'm not so much of a movie person. But Slum King, Shantytown, that whole tension, that whole feeling bad for the bad guy. Oh, that was good. That was good. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Paint a scenario where I'm a child and you hold my hand to take me into the garden of the playground of your mind when you're creating your stories.
A child can also survive there.
A child can survive there. Okay.
But
Actually, yes. I can tell. I know what you mean. Okay, as an adult, a baby girl.
if anyone comes with me into my mind, person finds a labyrinth of very differently sized and built rooms. That's because I find the concept of meals to be. I find that the concept of meals can become a cop-out concept.
The concept of meals.
Yes, of a muse that just inspires
Meals,
you
got it, sorry.
onto greatness can become a cop-out concept.
Okay, also.
People wait for the meal, so like, let it hit me. Let it hit me. Let me get in there.
Yeah.
But the question needs to be asked, where do ideas come from?
Right.
Right? Where do ideas come from? And that's something I'm taking great study into. Because my life is run by ideas, right? Regardless of my field. like ideas are the propeller. So where do they come from? And I realized that there really is nothing new under the sun. So there really is no original idea. There just are ideas that possibly have not come out in this way.
Right.
And sometimes those ideas are a function of knowledge from disparate sources. So I am telling a story. I want to tell a story about we're in this house. We're three in this place right now. I want to tell a horror story. So we're three, we're two ladies, one guy in this place. Rain starts falling, so I can't leave. So I'm like, okay, we're all holed up here. And rain is falling, thunderstorm, but I was like, hey, and we get creative with like campfire and all this kind of stuff. Not campfire, just duvets. We turn on something to start watching, we make hot tea. Then we start hearing a baby cry. Now this baby is crying outside. No, first and foremost, like, where's the baby crying from? There are three other rooms. Okay, you know what? Should we divide and conquer? Everybody search one room. Our director is like, it's not me, oh. It's not me. It's 2 by 2 or nothing. So we all go, we search this room, set that room, set that room. Mind you, we're about to convince ourselves that all of us can hear this thing. Right? Then the next question is, okay, if it's not coming from here, where is the noise then coming from? Now, we are now stuck from a story standpoint. There's no more idea. We don't know what to do. We can't move forward. Now, this is creativity 101. We're in story, but we cannot solve it by just thinking. There are no ideas. Then one day I'm sitting in front of my TV and I'm watching or I'm reading something that has to do with physics. And I'm learning about reverberation, how sounds can travel, how sound can come from this place, hit a solid object and go this way. And I'm listening, I'm just listening, or I'm reading, and I'm like, oh wow. It means that the baby doesn't need to be in the house. The baby could have been somewhere else. Okay, which means that what if they open this door and then they go downstairs and they see the baby? So the baby was crying from that. So now solve the story problem, but from another place.
Got it. Cool. So just to give you what I heard you say, there's a baby crying. We can all clearly hear, and with the level or the volume of the sound, it's is almost fact that the baby is in the room with us. However, there is physics that teaches the fact that not necessarily there is something called reverberation, that the sound hits a particular maybe frequency and then moves into another and makes it louder. So it's like there is a fact, and we have a different fact that says this is what is happening and that's the fact. But there is the actual truth, which is this is really what is happening and this is why it's happening, that actually gives this fact. So it's like fact and truth is different, but there's a merging of it. And that's how your storytelling happens, from different facets, bringing it into one.
That's why I talk
Your
about.
mind is crazy.
That's why I say labyrinth with different rooms, different sizes,
Yeah.
with different colors and the likes. Because
Because no one would have ever thought about that, the fact that this is happening from a standpoint of law.
I'm an avid reader.
Yeah.
And so what I do in getting ideas is most times I combine ideas from different things. Sometimes it's not conscious. Sometimes things just bubble up to the surface. So if I'm to take anyone through my creative process, like the people that work real closely with me, they know fully well that in embarking on an idea, I do something. I delve into multiple things first. So I read, I watch things. I'm just
Bombard your mind.
I bombard my mind with different things. So you're doing two things. One, there's just the ideation part. There's also the part that I want to create a cloud around me. So the present zeitgeist around me is filled with people who are produced at a high level. So they have gone into the depth of their minds. They have pulled from universal sources and they've produced XYZ things, be it art, it can be novels, it can be just artwork and paintings, it can be movies, it can be TV series, it can be documentary, whatever it is. Once there's production at a high level, I want to step into that energy. I want to be part of that particular cloud so that when it's time for me to then create, right? I have a source that my mind can is almost like creating a virtual mastermind.
I was gonna say mastermind.
Yeah. And so my mind is able to so I create my meals in that way.
Oh, I see.
That's the summary of it. That's how I create my own meal. So it's not
Vastness.
yes.
Got it.
So I start that way. There's now the point where I then hit flow. But that flow comes by concentration, comes by me staying on a thing and just being on that, being on that, and being on that thing. And then suddenly there's flow where the pathways, the channels are open, and I'm just.
I love it. Donald. It's been amazing. I don't know how you feel, but I feel good.
And I feel good.
Yeah.
Peachy.
Peachy. I feel peachy too.
Right.
Thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for sharing your raw truth. Thank you for sharing your experiences and being who you are, being an amazing friend, being the what are you doing? Are you being shy? Please, let's see your shyness. I think the thing for me is the fact that you're a very genuine person and you live your truth in the fullness of it. And that's something I deeply respect. And living your truth at the core of who you are, being immensely joyful is such a beacon of hope. Like you've had such great successes in tech. I was about to say sex. Oh my god, tech. And then you shifted to filmmaking, and then you still do like such depth of work in education, and not just any type of education, but personal development, life transformation, and all. You're such a beacon of hope, and thank you for who you are.
I don't know how to respond to that. Should I say it's a pleasure? I'm just being me.
I know you're just being you, but a lot of people do not have that freedom. Is why I say you're a beacon of hope.
It's not. I mean, I'm really. I'm privileged. Right, I'm privileged. So it's not like I was born this way. I'm privileged to have met some type of persons. I'm privileged to have stayed with some type of persons, even when the kitchen was hot.
Yeah.
I'm privileged to be in an experiment with my life. Gladly. I'm thankful for someone like Peter Dinklage, who doesn't know me, who said you have to give yourself permission to fail. And I'm excited that, oh my god, okay, now I'm not. I can be free because I'm not afraid of failure.
Yeah.
Right, I can be free to an extent. I'm privileged for the knowledge that freedom is multifaceted. I used to think we're just financial because that's what freedom is kind of attached to, financial freedom.
Yeah.
But it's just freedom of just being.
Yeah.
And it's exciting, it's liberating, it removes burden off of you. So it's a privilege. I'm privileged to love reading. That I love reading. Like, it's a privilege that I can delve into books. That I can leave the world and just focus zoning on books. And I'm privileged that I like my own space, so I can be by myself, just thinking. Right, just thinking. Yeah, so I think it's a huge through the reference like you, who it's when I talked about friendship, understanding, just striving to understand the next person, that's pretty much what you get to do with me. So it's striving to understand me regardless. Tomorrow I can come to you and be like, oh my god, let me tell you this shit that I did, and and you want to listen so you can understand. At the same time, I can come to you and be like, oh yes, the success, and you're like, oh yeah, like it's a privilege. And I realize it's a privilege because of the amount of people that I've met that don't have these things. They don't have access to some persons who can open up their minds, or they don't have access to friends who are genuine friends who actually listen to understand you, or they haven't experimented with any part of their lives. They have not introspected enough to know who they are to a degree.
Got it.
So they are unconscious competence. And they're just coursing through life. Fate is their master. They are not the ones that are the masters of their own fate. So it's so far it's been a huge privilege, and maybe that's what makes me excited about sharing it. Maybe that's what I mean, the fact that I want to have relevance in national building. I think again, without the weight of, hey, I'm a patriot, it's just it stems out of who I am as a person. And I think it's lofty, right? I genuinely like it. For me, I'm like, yeah, good, Donald. Right. But yeah, that's it. So I don't know whether to say thank you. It's just, I will say thank you to you for bringing me on this podcast to gist with you. So like, this is like our private type of gist. Anywhere we're chatting, we're gisting. Won't go and sit on the beach Sunday morning. Like, this is how we just talk. So it hasn't been one of all those, this question is tough. How do I comport myself? Like, this is just us, really. So thank you.
Now
but yeah,
I love you. And that is the end of our podcast.